CNH. Good evening and welcome to the November 9th, 2016 meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. Before we get into the agenda, I'd like to ask everybody to silence whatever devices they have with them. Also, if you leave and are having a conversation with somebody, please take it all the way down the hall or outside because we are not allowed to shut this door to keep the noise down. So, first on the agenda is to approve minutes, meeting of October 26, 2016.
I don't think we had a quorum for that the last time, Madam Chairman. That's correct.
I think you're correct about that, and I don't honestly know if we have a quorum for it this time or not.
No, you didn't get one.
Pardon?
Well, you were there.
There's only four.
I was
You were
there.
You were there.
Four.
You weren't. Were you there, Kristen? No, so you still don't have a quorum.
Okay, all right, so we will
No,
continue.
Kristen was there. Kristen was there.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I'm looking at this second, sorry.
Yeah, we have five.
okay.
Yep.
All right. So, does anybody want to make a motion on these?
I'm going to make a motion to move as written. I didn't find anything.
Okay.
Second.
I had a couple sort of clarifications to introduce and minor typos, things like a vegetation instead of vegetated, that kind of thing. But nothing of any particular. Oh, there was one place, maybe this is not the one. No, it's the other. Anyway. So,
You have a motion
Could I
and
have
a
a-
second. You already have a motion and a second
All
on
right.
the table.
any more comments from the board?
I wasn't there.
Right,
Well, you were there late.
I was there late.
okay. From the audience, no. All in favor of adopting these minutes, let's say aye.
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 Do you want me to send those down to Mary?
Unanimous, so moved.
That's good. Susan.
Okay, minutes of the meeting of November 2nd, 2016.
I just read those and I found them substantially correct.
Is there a motion?
That's a motion. I'm making a motion to accept.
Second.
All right. I have, again, two minor things to correct. Any other discussion from the audience? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Unanimous, so moved. Okay, now, next item is a request for a continuance under a determination of applicability. Scott and Sally Holbrook, 42 Eel River Road, East Falmouth, Massachusetts.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until November 3rd.
So moved.
No, that can't be right.
November 30th.
So,
November 30th, okay.
So moved.
second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Request for continuance under for a hearing under a notice of intent. Robert Karen, 41 Little John Road, East Falmouth, Massachusetts.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until December 7th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Request for determination of applicability. These are the less stringent of the permitting applications, and a negative determination is what the applicant is hoping to hear. It means they don't have to go on to a more demanding level of review. First, David and Kathleen Scadden, 32 Barneck Road, Woods Hole, Massachusetts, for permission to enlarge the deck, move the stairs, and install native shrub plantings.
Tom Bunker with BSS Design. That, through Mark, I requested a continuance on that
Yeah, I
also
just saw that.
till November 30th.
November
Thank you.
30th? So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
That's the only reason you're here tonight?
No, he's got more.
No.
Next, Scott and Sally Holbrook, 42 Eel River Road, East Falmouth, Massachusetts, for permission to pump, fill, and abandon the existing cesspools, install a new Title V sewage disposal system, native shrubs, and the associated clearing, grading, and landscaping.
Yes, Madam Chairman, that we've already continued that one to November 30th, sorry.
That's supposed to be good. We already continued that one.
Oh, yes. Okay. Paul and Barbara Nazaro, 62 Eel River Road, East Falmouth, Massachusetts, for permission to replace 10 dock pilings.
Hold on 1 second. We are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any comments from the audience? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Robert Karen has been, oh, I'm sorry. Continued request, we are now moving to continued requests for hearings under a notice of intent. Robert Karen, oh, I'm sorry, yes. All hearings of Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. So, Robert Karen, 41 Little John Road, has been continued to December 7th. Next, we have Alicia Quinlan, Lot 57B, Hummingbird Hill Road, map 14, 04, 007, 057B, North Falmouth, Massachusetts.
Yep, I'm getting the phone in a second. I have to find where I just stuck my phone. Hang on, Madam Chairman, I'm grabbing form sheets. Probably not order. Mark, Jamie, Betsy, Mary, Maury, Mary, Maury. Kristen, you're not on this
Gang's
one.
all here. I don't know why we continued this.
Just trying to change.
Okay, did you submit it with this? With the, you're submitting it now?
We have a new, we have a new plan.
Just a descriptive.
Okay, don't do that, because they're not gonna be happy that they have to
Oh,
read
remind us, we have a new plan.
your page and a half letter as they're setting here. Are you gonna
Well, I'll
describe it,
describe
Joe?
it, yeah.
Do me a favor, don't read it verbatim. Thank you. I have a feeling we're gonna get that momentarily.
There's in here a
Next
letter
time,
basically.
Tom, if you could just submit this, when you submit the revised plan, that would be
Thank you.
super helpful, thank you. See, that was nice. I said it was super helpful.
Yes, recommend Tom Bunker, the assessed design. This, which I've just distributed, is just a recap or a description of the changes I made to the plan. And I also have a section through the site which addresses, which is a little bit of informational, so that partly so you could see the different levels of the house that's being proposed, how the grading works. But I also put on there one other piece of information having to do with the overhanging branch of a tree. Basically, the changes we made to this plan at the front of the lot actually moved the water service onto the adjoining land owned by the applicant, by Elish and Quinlan. And then that allowed me to move the septic system another 3 feet away from the wetland resource area, and then I could move the retaining wall further from the resource area. So we now, and I've shown on this plan now actually the limit of the footings of the wall. So it's now 5 feet clear between the edge of the footing and the limit of work, 7 feet between the limit of work and the wall itself. This is adequate room to do backfilling, to do the construction and the backfilling, grading and replanting at the base of the wall. They changed the decks, took some of the width off of maybe the deck halfway back to give a little bit more room between the vernal pool zone A line, 100 feet from the vernal pool. Moved the decks back from that and shifted some of the deck to the very back of the house, or the back side of the house. And I point out to remember that these decks are, as shown in that diagram, they're 8 feet up in the air, 1 story up. And so this fence that will be installed will be 2 to 3 feet away from the posts of the deck, so there is enough room in there for the fence installers and the planters putting in the native shrubs, which I did decrease the spacing, increase the density of the shrubs to 3 feet on center, the 577 square feet of planting on there. The entire vernal pool buffer zone will be planted. The rear drainage area has been moved halfway onto, again, the abutting property by the same owner, and so we pulled that away from the limit of work, so there's adequate room to install the drainage. I did go to the site and talk about all the overhanging branches there, and certainly as when you walk down there, the canopy they almost touch at the middle. It does turn out though that the middle where the canopies touch is actually at the wetland side of the house on this section here. It's almost directly above where the edge of the deck, there's one branch in particular that's particularly noticeable, and we did measure it, and I've shown this on there, and I believe that's not in any way going to interfere with the construction of the house, because the farthest tip of it is actually, doesn't even overhang the deck, let alone the house itself. Now, of course, some of the canopy does emanate from trees on the uphill side of the house, but all of those trees are beyond the, outside of the resource area buffers, beyond your jurisdiction. And many of those trees will be taken down because that area on the uphill side of the house is being graded. There is one 22-inch oak tree at the back of the site, near the back deck, that is marked on the plan to be removed, and that tree did contribute significantly to the canopy in that area. Around the barn, there are a number of small 1 to 2-inch white pines. There's some other things. There's a multi-stem apple tree and other things. A lot of this will be, obviously the trees around the barn will be taken out because the barn is going to be removed. The barn, well, speaking of the barn, it does, the barn covers 86 square feet of the vernal pool A zone and 97 square feet of the B zone. The barn will be taken out, and there will, when complete, there will be 35 square feet in the B zone of the wetland, and no coverage within the A zone of the vernal pool. There being no B zone. That's a reduction of 148 square feet within your jurisdiction. As a reduction, there's actually no planting required, but as I said, we're planting 577 square feet to fill in the A zone of the vernal pool. There was a comment that the house seemed massive. This house actually is smaller than the one that was approved in the prior order of conditions, and I was thinking that perhaps it seemed massive. If you're looking at a 10-scale plan, it's twice the size of what you would normally be looking at. The detail plan there is 10 scale. If you look at the 20-scale plan, to keep it more in line with the type of plans you look at, I think it would not seem massive. It is 1,700, the one approved is 1,700 square feet, and this one, 1,709 square feet, this one is 1,698 square feet, and 200, almost 300 square feet of that is deck, and also a garage there, so it's not a big house. It's about 1,100 square feet of living space on the first floor.
So that's just the footprint. The 1,100 square feet is the footprint.
1,100 square feet is the footprint on the first floor
Of living space.
of living space. The
So
total house is
1,600.
1,698.
So if you take 1,690 and then you add another 1,100 for your second floor, roughly, you're looking at a 2,790 square foot house?
No, the
living
1,698
space.
includes the decks
Oh, it includes the decks.
and the garage.
It's still a big
So-
house for the area that you're putting it
It's-
in, I think is what the board was trying to say.
It's not a big house, but it's,
In the area that you're
It's
trying to
tight.
squish this house into, where you're 6 feet off the vernal pool boundary, 10 feet, almost exactly, or 10.3 feet off the back property line. It's a large house in a very small, tight area, Tom. I said it with a smile.
yes, you did.
Okay, go on, sorry, Tom, I was just trying to get my numbers straight.
Yeah, I think I've been through
Everything?
the changes.
Okay.
I'll take any of your questions.
Okay. Mark?
Oh, not really. I went out there again, and I think maybe you were underestimated the previously disturbed area, to my observation. When they came in and whatever they did to scalp out a flat place to put that barn, they pushed a lot of earth over the hill. So in fact, the disturbed area goes another 5 or 6 feet beyond the line you show on the map,
It is, I wasn't counting.
where they
the
poured
sloped
all the
area
dirt
or
over, so that was, poured over whatever's growing there, totally disturbed.
An old rusty wheelbarrow and other things down there. I certainly wasn't including any of that. That's grown up, but the area that had been used for the stabling of the horse, was to the edge of that slope is what I had used there.
I'm a little sad that we don't have a new drawing that shows the new deck and the,
No, that's a revised plan.
You do, you had a revised plan, Mark, it was issued on the first.
on the 5th?
First.
Oh, maybe I blew right by it because it looked so similar. Sorry,
No, it's okay.
nothing else.
Maury, I believe. Kristen's not on the quorum, is that correct?
That is correct.
Maury?
Well, sure, a couple questions, Tom. On the easement on the property, is that in perpetuity?
Yes, it would be if, as I explained last time, there's no actual easement at the moment because she owns both properties, but certainly it would be in perpetuity.
Okay, so with that said, putting a structure, even though they're the same owners, but they're on 2 different lots, I really have a problem with that, because it's,
Probably haven't.
I just worry that if an easement is granted, and it's just, I don't know, I'm not into zoning, but I just really feel uncomfortable. We usually have everything on one lot, and this property is so compromised with how much is on that little area that you can actually build on. I'm concerned that the easement is allowing the drainage on it, and if there was ever a point where they didn't want that leach chamber in the easement on somebody else's property.
No, they would have
That would
nothing to
never
say
happen.
about
It's
that.
in the
Okay.
deed.
Is it
Okay,
advertised for both lots?
no.
No, but that area is out of your jurisdiction. But we didn't advertise for both lots.
Okay. Well, that's just a concern I had, that was one. And on the new plan to the old plan for the wall, could you just explain, I mean, I've got the 2 of them here, and unfortunately, Tom, you didn't include all the things on the old plan on the new plan. So now it's, and, no disrespect to you, but it takes a lot of time for us. I mean, you get a little machine and you push a button and you erase things and add things. But for us to sit down and take a long time with our scales to measure, and this wall, you have a revision, it just says retaining wall. That's all it says. So then we have to sit down, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't sit down and do it, but after looking at it, I'm not really sure what you did for us with this retaining wall. Could you explain it?
Yeah, that's the first thing I pointed out. Basically, starting at the top, I moved the water service up, and this is another easement, so the water service moved
That's
off.
not on the plan. It doesn't say water service in the revision.
Yeah, those,
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's the
Top
W
right.
line. Oh, you mean it
No, it's
doesn't
not in
say
the
it?
revision note.
The note she's.
The revision note.
Next septic system drainage, that was a minor part of the change, but I moved the water service
Yeah,
to make room. The septic system has to be 10 feet from the water service
correct.
and 10 feet from the property line. So I moved the water service up off of the lot, and I moved about 3 or 4 feet off of the lot, so I could then move the septic system uphill.
Further up,
So it's
right.
only 10 feet from the property line. So I moved that, all the septic system up, and then I can move the wall the same amount. So the wall moved about 3 feet uphill.
Okay. So that little, where the old wall was to the new wall, the old wall went sort of in a slope and it died off right where it says Edge Hill Road. And now it goes further. It's actually up to elevation 60, past 69. The old one was at elevation 68. Now the new one's at like 69. Is that more wall added?
No, I think on the other one, I don't have the old one with me, but I think the other one, I think the wall, I might be wrong, but it might have gone into the street layout.
No, it was right on the, both of them are on the edge of the street.
Right on it, but
Yeah.
I think when I was showing the footing of the wall changes from a cast concrete wall to a modular block wall.
Okay,
Which
that's what
doesn't-
that difference in the
Yeah, it doesn't
The drawing.
require footings in the same way. It's a lower wall, and so it just continued up just for grading purposes.
okay.
A couple of feet but I did that because I was concerned about getting some of the wall structure into the street layout.
Okay, and you still don't have any problem with in the height of the wall is the same as in the old plan, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Imagine moving it up 3 feet.
3
up-
feet to give you more
uphill,
than-
Probably it's in slightly higher ground, so, but as you pointed out, that's kind of, you still might have to dig down the same amount to get to the original soil, so it's,
And you're still comfortable with that
fill.
being so close to the limit of work?
yeah, 7 feet is 5 feet to the footing.
We usually ask for 10, that's why, that's been our, I'm not gonna say it's our regulation, but it's sort of our
Yeah.
steadfast belief that you need 10 feet to get around with dump trucks and everything else. So, all right, and so you don't have any problem, okay.
You all set, Maureen?
All set?
All right, Betsy?
Tom, I have a couple of questions. One is, just a comment that you made last time, and I didn't want to appear that I was picking on you last time, but I'll pick on you today.
Now you will.
And that is, I asked you about the driveway, and everybody says, yeah, it says paved driveway. And you made a comment that the people who own the house have access problems. But I just want to remind you and remind everyone that we permit what's going to be done on the property and not who might be living in the property.
Oh, absolutely. I was just saying why. I mean, again, I'll remind you, it's outside the buffer to the wetlands. This driveway is.
But presumably the water from the driveway, if it's a big rain.
That's,
Can
we've taken
impact.
care of adequately.
Hopefully, depending on how big a rain. But I'll tell you what, I still have a big concern with a house of whatever size, the size that this is, on the stability of that slope.
Well, that flat area
Has been there for a long time,
basically been there for a long time. I mean, it was cut in.
yeah.
So actually where the house
Well,
is.
it was cut in and,
Some, but where the house is
And then some
going is
was-
toward the back of that. And the house is, I'm sure, on what was the original soil. It's, that area that's in the vernal pool buffer is the part that might be.
might slump,
Might
continue
be,
to slump.
where the fill was placed.
Right,
But of
right.
course, the house is not on that area. And if you go down 4 feet for the footing and the frost wall, I'm sure it's in the undisturbed area of the
Soil
soil.
that was originally, all right. And the other question that I have is this, is this line, I'll ask you, is this line the boundary line?
Yes.
And is this work that's gonna be done? Is this the boundary?
Yes.
Yeah, and this is,
So the driveway
A
comes
wall?
up to the road.
That's it. The double line is the Cape Cod berm, hold the drainage.
So that's the road
all right.
layout,
all right,
edge of pavement.
Yeah.
okay,
So, yeah.
that's all.
There's a berm a little further downhill, so proposing a berm through there so that any water coming down,
The driveway,
there'll be a little bit, the water that falls on town property can stay on town property, and there's a berm there, so it doesn't go over the hill
Yeah, 'cause this
toward the
is-
vernal
this way.
pool or onto the neighbor's property. So it'll tie in with the existing berm that's along there.
okay. I think the neighbor asked about that, right, was there a letter? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you all set, Betsy?
I am.
Okay, Jamie?
you've done the soil analysis for the septic, right?
Yes.
So you're comfortable with the stability?
Soil logs are
That's
on
easy.
analysis. I think the soil log shows in one of them that there is some fill but it's, yes, I'm comfortable with that because, as I said, the house is on the uphill side of that plateau.
I'm good, thank you.
I believe, I might be thinking of a different project, but I'm pretty sure it was this one. I asked at the previous hearing whether we knew whether the barn was legally constructed or not. I didn't find anything just now in the record about that.
The barn, I'm sure predates, that's right, I was gonna color up one of the 1975 topo maps for you. The barn predates.
Like a Christmas present, early Christmas present?
Like that. Just
A little
some,
silver bow.
from some history. That was Smith that owned that, had the barn. So Don Smith and, I think of the daughter's name, who was my sister's friend, had the horse there. And that was in around the 75 time frame, which right around, it doesn't really matter. I'm saying that we're taking it out. We're not using the pre-existing coverage as any type of help toward new coverage. I'm just pointing out that we are removing coverage from that area.
Okay. We're done. Bob, on that, you should come up and address, guess you're gonna address the question of the barn.
Well, sort of a related issue. At the last hearing, I think there was a reference, somebody said something about, it created a lot out of a bigger lot for this. And I wanted to correct that misimpression. This lot and the lot next to it were actually created by a 1964 plan. That's not quite right because there used to be a road. At the location of the barn where the house is going to be, there used to be a road that extended through there. And the Hummingbird Hill kept going straight instead of turning. So there were actually two roads that were eliminated by a 1968 plan. So there were always two lots from 64 and the 68 plan. Lissy Quinlan bought this property, the two lots, in 1977. She had two lots, and of course that was before the Conservation Commission and before the vernal pool 100-foot habitat. The adjustment of the lot lines occurred in order to be able to create a building spot as tight as it is outside of the 100-foot vernal pool. But the lot is actually quite an old lot, and it's been in her ownership for 39 years. I just thought that was...
Bob, when was the lot line, when was the property split or the lot line moved, or?
Well, I didn't check that, but it would have been before our work 7 years ago when we got the order of conditions the first time around. In order to, you see, we had two lots, each which were around 28,000 square feet. The zoning bylaw allows you to adjust the area of two adjacent lots as long as the area is the same. So we ended up with the areas are the same, but the shape is different, and we've got that area that wraps around it. But we did that in order to create a space you could build, which is what we've done, and we also got a special permit to do that, to adjust the lot lines. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure you understood that this wasn't a, trying to eke out an extra lot from a bigger piece. This has always been a separate, there's always been a separate lot. Yeah, Tom, this is the, if you like it,
I was going to ask if it's possible to submit some documentation for the record on this, if it's possible.
well, here's the 1968 plan. Tommy had, and I actually made a copy of it as well. That shows the two lots, and you can see where the roadway that actually was on the 1964 plan. I don't know if I have that. I looked at it today, but I didn't bring the 64 plan because the conveyance to Lissy Quinlan was off of the 1968 plan. And then, to answer Jen's question about when was the lot redivided, and it was by a plan dated May 24, 2006. And by Bunker, and so we did that. Now, if you need more documentation than I've just given you, I'm happy to give it to you, but that's the plan of record. And the point is, you can see there are two lots that were on the 1968 plan.
Thank you, Bob.
All right.
I just have one-
Yes, go
Bob,
ahead,
just
Mark.
before you leave, Bob, I just had one quick question. What is the size of the other lot that is in the same
Well, it's on the
ownership?
plan,
29.
should be on the plan, one of those plans.
27,700.
Isn't that the one with,
Oh, that's the one we're working on, I'm sorry.
yeah, what's the other one? Maybe I'm just missing it.
No, it's here.
Well, I don't have that.
It's 24,346.
All right, we've never had that.
Right, this is new tonight.
Yeah, no, so,
I mean,
can I
that
say,
shows up, normally we need that, but I thought it was important to respond to suggestion made in plan.
yeah, thank you.
All right, anything else from the board?
You send that down?
Oh, yeah,
Some
Mark,
of
I'd like to
them.
see these before we...
Well, let's show them that one first.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Oh,
See,
I have
yeah,
one
there was a
question.
road.
It's to Jen, actually. Jen,
Yes,
with the knowledge of upland activity, is there a time that would be better for them that we would recommend?
we can give a time, we can
We just know that
recommend
during,
a
when they're
time
active
of
in the
year
pond.
restriction for vernal pool activity, yes.
Okay, only because it would be better if everybody's in the little pond when you start digging, than when you start digging when they're all up in the upland. So that was just a,
You'll probably have a time of year restriction around the migration of bird pool species. So,
just a,
Any other questions or comments from the audience? Does anybody have a motion?
Yeah, I move we close the hearing and take it under advisement.
second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say no. Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you for pulling stuff back. Good.
Tom, I'm really sad I didn't get my little colored topo. Hope to get one by Christmas. Betsy always gives me a picture for
And the
Christmas.
Not, maybe more artistic,
did.
but not drawing
didn't
by
have the
hand.
order, I should have.
Oh, okay, I didn't have.
I did do that. Okay, next we have Chamberlain Shellfish Farms, Nantucket Sound, latitude 413305.16, longitude 703245.38, East Falmouth, Massachusetts. This is for a shellfish aquaculture farm off Washburn Island, approximately 1 acre rectangular shape and size that includes approximately 10 lines of chain, along with cages, bags, spread equally apart.
And it has a DEP number, so I'll move to close the hearing.
No,
No,
we
we need
cannot,
natural
because we're not
heritage.
waiting for a DEP number, we're waiting for natural
Natural
heritage.
heritage.
They haven't responded because they have decided that Mr. Chamberlain does need to submit a more formal MISA filing. They didn't receive his check, so they have not even started their review. He mailed the check, I believe, on the 26th. They do not start their 30-day review until they receive it. So I'm going on the 31st, so I was emailing back and forth with the applicant today. We agreed to continue him to December 7th, so we get Misa's review.
At the request of the applicant, we'll continue this to December 7th.
Yes. He mailed their check and their paperwork on the 26th. I'm giving them I'm assuming they must have received it by the 31st, so I'm going with 7.
I'll second.
Pearl Harbor.
Give them a good month to respond. It's terns and plovers, and the shellfish grant is not going to affect the
Terns, the ferns and the
terns or the
plovers.
plovers. But MISA does have to complete their review, and you do need the paperwork in your file to close the hearing,
All right, any questions or comments from the board,
within their timeframe.
from the audience? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Unanimous, so
There's
moved.
just one of them.
Next, Ronald and Kathleen Mannion, 161 Shorewood Drive, East Falmouth, Massachusetts.
No, the quorum on this one is Mark, Jamie, Betsy, Mary, Maury. No Kristen.
I can go home now.
Oh, let me see Kristen.
No, Kristen isn't on this one.
Yeah.
I'm waiting, let me see if I can release her. I can release you, Kristen, unless you want to stay for the enforcement.
Or to vote in
No,
order.
That's-
Oh, good.
Oh, actually, I think we're not going to be able to do that, isn't it?
No, Mark's on it.
That's right.
Madam Chairman, we've continued this so that Jack could go back and address the beach issue in which I wanted to see some salt marsh restoration work. A plan was submitted which shows some core fiber rolls with some American beach grass. I did have a conversation with Mr. Jack Tully yesterday?
That is correct,
Yesterday
yeah.
regarding
Yeah, for the record,
the
my name is Jack
restoration.
Landers Tully. Actually, it was a little bit more than that. That was the key issue. The other issues were we had to change to the plant species, which we did. We had to add dry wells. And then, as Jennifer said, the major focus was what happened to the shorefront? Well, I can tell you, I'm not exactly sure what happened. So rather than dwell on who did what when, because the new owners, they're saying that when they bought it, it was like that. What we decided after the meeting is they're just going to restore it. We're not going to try to prove what was there, when it was there. We're just going to restore that area that is been altered by man's activities. What we're going to propose, and is incorrectly shown on the plan, is we're going to use Spartina alterniflora. We are still going to use the core fibers. They're going to be put in the form of culms. And they're going to occupy this area. The reason we are going to use the fiber roll is to keep people off it, give the chance for the seedlings to propagate. Spartina is rhizomaceous. For those who may not know what it means, the roots grow underground and spread out. And that is what we're proposing to stabilize this area. I will have to work with the staff as to how we're going to maintain it. My belief is that if we maintain the fiber rolls, within 3 years, we should have a healthy stand of Spartina in there. Spartina, that particular type of Spartina, you can flood daily, which is going to happen. These are the profile. I think that's it, unless there's some other issue that has since come up.
Madam Chairman, I don't have any issues. I just want Jack to be aware. Jack, I'm going to need a written methodology on that salt
Certainly.
marsh, so that you'll probably see that conditioned, and the staff will probably approve that. If the board's
Okay.
okay with that, I'll work with Mark and we'll look, because I do have a concern. And I talked to you yesterday about using the fiber logs instead of having something a little more peaty in there for the Spartina, but we can talk about that. I understand what you're trying to do. We can
Right.
come up with a methodology. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we'll work it out.
All right.
Okay, Jamie, any questions?
No questions or comments?
Betsy?
Nothing, thanks. Thanks for restoring that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It makes things cleaner all the way around.
Exactly, yeah.
Maury?
The only thing I just want the applicant to know that we'll, in the planting mitigation, it'll be just planted in the lawn, just how we usually do it. So,
You're talking about the upland
Yeah.
species? Yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
understand that.
Yep, fine, that's all, thank you.
Mark,
Nothing.
At the request, no, not at the
No,
request.
I close it.
Close it and take it under advisement.
Second.
That's my motion.
Thank you.
anything else from the audience? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Unanimous, so moved.
Yeah, everybody needs to hold for 1 second.
Moving along, Janice Crowley Realty Trust, care of Janice Crowley trustee, 18 Abby's Lane, North Falmouth, Massachusetts.
1 second.
Am I on it?
I don't know.
This was for the,
Yes, you were here.
I was?
No.
It was last week.
Thought it was continued again.
I was asked by Barbara
11-2 to 11-9.
to clarify any confusions about this, misunderstandings. It's simply a DEP issuance?
Oh,
Yes.
Abby's Road was a DEP and we
DEP.
have it. Sorry, Madam Chairman, I.
Jamie, Betsy, Mary, Mark.
Yeah.
You're saying we still don't have the DEP?
No, we do.
Oh,
We
we
have
do,
it.
okay, sorry.
The next 3 are all DEP numbers, and the next 3 hearings, we have received all 3 DEP numbers.
motion to close the hearing, take it under advisement.
Second.
Jack, if you can find Bob, tell him he's almost up. Thank you.
I heard that. Does anybody on the board have any questions on this? The audience? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Denise Jarvinen, 122 Gardner Road, Woods Hole, Massachusetts.
We needed that one, a DEP number, and we have received that.
All right,
Make a motion to close and take under advisement.
Second.
thank you. Does anybody have any questions from the board, from the audience? All those in favor of closing the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Unanimous, so moved. Wild Harbor Yacht Club, care of Michael Walsh, 386 Wild Harbor Road, North Falmouth, Massachusetts.
Yes, Madam Chairman, we were waiting for a DEP number and a revised plan showing the V-zone, and that has been submitted, and we received the DEP number.
I move to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Any questions from the board? Questions or comments from the
I have
audience?
a comment.
Okay,
I thank the engineer for putting the Falmouth V-zone on.
I had the plan the next day. Tim's good.
Yeah.
are we all set?
Yeah.
All those in favor of closing the hearing, say
And I
aye.
seconded it.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Unanimous, so moved. Okay, that is it for our notice of intent hearings. We move on to enforcement issues. First is Stroud Falmouth Trust, care of Edward P. Stroud, trustee, Sippowiset Road, map 36-11-002-076, Falmouth, Massachusetts, for clearing and altering wetland resource area and in buffer to resource areas as defined in FWR 10.00 and 310 CMR 10.07.
Yes, Madam Chairman, Attorney Amon has stepped out. I know he either has a letter for me or for you. Can we table this until he returns?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, or unanimous, we will table this. Next, OCW Retail Falmouth LLC, care of Kelly Burke, 137 T-Ticket Highway, Falmouth, Massachusetts, for clearing and altering wetland resource area and in buffer to resource areas as defined in FWR 10.00 and 310 CMR 10.00.
Yes, Madam Chairman, we have been working, this is a continued enforcement hearing. Oh, look, Mike's passing out pictures.
Thank you.
From the mall, the Falmouth Mall area, there was clearing done in that. We have been working with Holmes and McGrath, and we're getting a presentation tonight, I think.
I know, huh?
Maybe or maybe not. And Maria Hickey Landscaping to come up with a
This is
restoration
about to come,
plan
not already
concept and restoration plan. At this point, hold it, Maria. the staff is going to recommend to issue the enforcement order, have the restoration plan filed within 30 to 60 days. You can determine which that, we have met on site with both representatives from Holmes and McGrath and Maria to discuss her concept of restoration, fencing, how to keep people out of this area, how to beautify it so it's aesthetically pleasing, how to open up the kind of open up the area so there's no problems back in that wetland area that, there's some homeless camps or transient populations that use that area. So Mark and I are pretty comfortable with the design, so we would recommend issuing that enforcement order. I'll even split the difference and say, could you get the plan to us in 45 days?
Absolutely.
45 days, and we'll present the plan to the board then. That's the recommendation from the staff. If you'd like to hear a little bit about Maria's concept, I believe she's here to tell you.
I think, why don't you go right ahead, Maria, since you're here.
Are you ready?
And well prepared, obviously.
Maria Hickey Landscapes. And I first wanted to start off by saying, any of you that read the Falmouth Enterprise, especially over the last year or two, there's been a lot of activity in the police reports of issues of people drinking and doing drugs in those woods and then robbing the people in the parking lot of Walmart. So certainly we can appreciate that it's a problem area. However, we do understand, like, it's not the job of this commission to regulate and provide security in areas that people shouldn't be to begin with. So when I was notified about the violation, I just wanted to start out by saying that I was highly impressed with the Wilder companies, because Kelly Burke, who's sitting in the audience, Jeff Johnson called me and told me what happened, and said that you might hear from them. And I no sooner hung up the phone, and 10 minutes later she called me. And I said that I would take a ride down to the mall, take a look. She said she'd email me a letter immediately giving me authorization to act on their behalf. So from literally the first moment of notification, they have been extremely cooperative and anxious to resolve this matter and to just focus on the solution of how can we, best revegetate this area and keep it safe for everybody, and also add some diversity of species and encourage it to be more of a functioning wildlife habitat than a camp for the homeless people. So, that being said, I had the pleasure to meet Maury and Jamie and Courtney, who's not here tonight, did a little walk out on site, and that was before we cleaned out everything that had been cut down. Once that had been cleaned up, Holmes and McGrath came in and did a site survey, and we were able to get, a true grasp of everything. And what the color pictures that Jeff and I worked on, your first one shows how everything looked before any cutting was done. Your second picture, actually they're out of order. Your third picture shows the cutting that was done. So if you go to the one that just has the yellow and then the orange reflects where there's an active wetland. The second picture was like my worksheet. I got out pencils and I started scribbling of just some of my ideas, because one thing that Maury and Courtney and Jamie and I noticed when we were down there there's some pockets of non-native invasive species that are completely screening the light of where we would like to obviously plant an understory to grow back. So part of our concept would be to remove the non-native invasive vegetation, voluntarily remove it, and then replant it with a diversity of species. And starting from deep into the woods, working our way out, we would be planting viburnum. And as we get towards the front of the green big area that says proposed restoration, there are some locust trees and some autumn olive trees that we would like to remove. I I'd like to save the tree trunks from the locust trees, and I'll explain why in a minute, what I'm gonna use them for.
Oh, I was gonna say we'll take them.
Well, it's a good idea. Give me a minute.
Okay.
Let me get there. Okay, so,
We can talk to her about other trees then.
right? Okay, so one thought, was to create, so replant in our woods. We want to replant this path. First, we talked about, well, people are going to still walk down the path, and then they can trample on the new planting. So we've decided, let's just get rid of the path. We don't want to encourage anybody to go in this area at all. Starting, I guess, from the lawn area out is the best way, would be back towards Walmart. We'd like to combine the wildflower beds that they have there and plant a wide area of native perennials. I gave you that picture just to show you an example of what echinacea and agastache and monarda look like, because they are highly effective in attracting birds, butterflies, and bees. So we feel it's a great deterrent for people walking through there. If you have, a 10 or 12 foot wide continuous border of native perennials, I don't think anybody, I can tell you from my own experience out in the field, wants to get stung by the thousands of bees that are on the agastache. However, if they don't mind the bees, the next layer up would be Rosa virginiana, which will form a thicket. The canes grow in a horizontal manner, and even after a few months, like we did a project at 155 Knobsco Road, if anyone's been out there. We planted it at the end of June, and by the end of July, you couldn't even walk through the Rosa virginiana. It was awesome. That will encourage a lot of nesting native songbirds as well. Behind that, we're going to put clethra, again, more bees, and then get into more of our diversity of species. The locust trees, I'd like to take the trunks and cut them into posts and mount them every 50 feet and put a birdhouse on them, because we're southeast facing, and that hopefully, if we're really lucky, will attract some bluebirds. But at least we'll get some native birds in there. And the important thing about those posts in the bird box, if you look on this black line, on either the first picture or the last picture, it adds almost as a delineation between your basic, your native buffer. Like, in other words, don't cross this line and cut anything ever again. Not only will you get shredded by all the thorns, but you'll be in big trouble with conservation. So we just felt like the bird boxes would be functional, add to the, almost like the country charm of it, for lack of a better word, versus like, a commercial urban parking lot. So the combination of everything, I talked to Upper Cape Voc Tech to see if their carpentry students would be interested in making the bird boxes. They're excited to do that. So, just trying to involve different aspects, and maybe even have some of the kids work with us so we can teach them about native restoration. As far as the wetland area, Courtney and Maury and I and Jamie had agreed it would be, because it's such a big canopy overhead, to just try to employ monitoring of invasive species and manage those to see if we can get an understory to grow up.
You might have to start that understory.
Yeah.
We talked about in the field.
Yep.
That Mark and I wanted to see that wetland planted with wetland shrubs.
Okay. I
Yep.
missed that one.
Remember, we were talking about the needles, and then you said you had to dig it out?
Yeah, we were talking about this section right here. The dark green section where the orange section, hold on, let me flip to the page. Because there's so many
What
stumps.
page, Maya?
Okay, so right here on this picture, Jen, right here, see where this orange is? That's
Yeah.
an active wetland, and there's so many stumps in there that it would be really difficult to
Oh,
find.
we were talking about the yellow area?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
which we're gonna replant that.
Okay.
When we went in and took out all the trees that have been taken down, we did use a mini excavator just because of the risk to humans. There were so many hypodermic needles, and it was not good thing. So we would do that again because we're going to have to remove some of the stumps. And by removing the locust and the Russian olive, it'll actually open more space in the canopy so that the native trees can grow and bring some light in so that we can grow an understory. Because right now, it's like a fabulous place to have a camp. It's pretty cleared out. So that's the direction that we're going in. We've had a number of meetings. Jen and Mark and Jeff and I have worked really hard on this, and I went to Boston and met with the Wilder companies, and they're on board with this, and we'd just like to, focus on getting everything replanted and revegetated, and not only make it aesthetically look beautiful, but make it highly functional from a wildlife standpoint and as a way to keep people out of the woods.
Okay,
Questions?
sounds good.
No.
Questions?
Well, I
Oh,
think,
we have a
when
quorum?
you see a more formalized
Yeah.
plan, if you wanted to have questions, you could. If
Okay.
you want to see the formalized plan, we can present it to you. We'll issue an enforcement order, and they'll have to issue that plan within 45 days of the issuance of that order,
Right.
and you can review the plan then.
But we can just say we like the concept now.
You can say you love the concept.
Well, she
now
knows
that
it, she
you've
already
done
explained it to me the other day.
I did.
So,
Because I'm-
Remind-
Maury, you're looking frowning.
No, I just, before it gets too much further, I just hope that the wildflower areas are either mounded because they're so close to a lawn. We know what happens with those really fast lawnmowers.
But we're going to take the lawn out.
No, you have lawn all in these little,
Look, if you look on the very last page, oh, wait a minute.
No, the first page.
First page, sorry. The first page, the only lawn is at the very front,
right.
okay? And we'll have signs in there that say no mowing. So at the end of the season,
Should they be in landscape or English? I mean, there were signs there before.
We could talk about
we can
even
talk about that as
doing,
part of the
even
monitoring and under a
doing
special
a,
condition.
right.
But the whole idea was, take away the grass, Maureen, that's
Right.
behind these wildflower beds,
Fine.
and take out the paths
That's what I was,
between them.
right, and then,
Just, so it's one big area.
Why
So
have
the-
any lawn?
I'm sorry, what?
Why have any lawn? Have it all a wildflower bed, and it can be,
well, when you plow snow and stuff, it is tough.
Yeah.
They'll just crush everything. The lawn at least gives
Oh,
you
the
a buffer to the
Yeah.
wildflowers.
you could also do like a single rail fence, composite fence along there to keep the mowers out.
Just
Yeah, but doesn't the raised bed do the same thing?
raised
Look a
bed
little
does,
more
yeah,
aesthetic
do
to what
the
you're
same
doing?
thing.
Yep.
snow removal.
Yeah.
Because they're already
It's fine.
limited, yeah.
Yeah.
Either
Know
way,
what
I
happens
don't-
there.
Well, it should be something, because clearly,
Clearly, they
know where
wrote
to
it
stop.
before, so I mean, we can do it again. Okay.
it's covered with snow, you're not gonna know.
We've already, have we voted?
No, you
In
need
the
to
past? Okay,
vote
all right.
to issue an enforcement order within 45 days of the receipt
So
of the order.
moved.
Our
Second.
restoration plan.
More.
Betsy
I
motioned, I seconded.
will get it. Right?
All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
And our last enforcement order, Mappy Landscaping, care of John Bigmick, 137 T-Ticket Highway, Falmouth, Mass., for clearing and altering wetland resource area and in buffered resource areas as defined in FWR 10.00 and 310 CMR 10.00.
Make a motion to enforce $1 million fine.
Where is Mr. Murphy?
This, I think we had a letter intended for him, didn't we?
No, Attorney Ahmed is here, but we've been putting this on since July. We've been working with the applicants and their representatives. We basically, you voted to issue an enforcement order on an adjacent property a few weeks ago. And this is the property next door between 250 and Sipawissett and the Cape Cod Road.
Talking
And
about two
we're
different
on.
things.
We're
Which
still
one
on
are we
Murphy.
on?
Maffey Landscape.
Oh, Maffey, I'm sorry, Maffey, that's continued, November 30th, sorry.
So moved.
Good.
I was talking to Susan about 45 days over here. That was continued to the 30th due to a family illness.
Oh,
Okay.
Let's go back to the
Did you
first.
did you get that, Susan?
Betsy,
Okay, yeah, okay.
Sorry about that.
All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? No. Say no? Unanimous, so moved.
I make a motion to on-table Sprout Falmouth Trust.
Second.
So,
Okay, all what I just said, even though I was on the wrong project. And we have been working with Bob Amon's office regarding this property. This property, there were a significant amount of trees removed in the A buffer to the coastal bank in this area. The board can issue an enforcement order and require a restoration plan. There was a significant amount of vegetation removed, one in the trees in the A buffer and the B buffer. There is some discussion by the applicant's representative that they don't want to or have to restore the B buffer, even though the client, the property owner altered that, because in the regulations, as long as the A buffer is vegetated, the B buffer can be. I see you, Bob, 1 second, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm working on it. The B buffer can be developed. Now
Did they ask for permission to develop it?
that's what I said. So, anyway, we're here, we've been
About to hear
attempting to
about
work with the property owner. So we're at the point where we really do need to issue some sort of enforcement order. I just had a conversation with Bob before the meeting about a notice of intent versus a restoration plan. Staff would prefer to see the restoration plan. Bob would prefer to see, I believe, or his client would prefer to see a notice of intent with a building footprint. He's here to discuss that with you, and then we can discuss how you want to proceed after his comments.
So we're gonna issue something, and Bob's gonna try to convince us to issue one thing,
I'm
or
not
you're giving
quite
us
sure.
another
I haven't
choice.
read the letter yet.
Let's hear from Bob.
Apparently, Attorney Amon's office delivered a letter to me today that I have not seen. So,
I wrote a letter to Jen today, finished it at 2 o'clock. I can't be sure she received it.
I honestly didn't
No,
receive
no,
it. I don't know if
I'm
it
sure
came in, Bob, and it
No, I'm
just
sure you
didn't
did
get to
receive it
me.
because you said so. And the question is whether we in fact did what I thought was done, which was delivered. We might not. And I've just spent a while having a terrible time trying to print the letter, and for some reason I'm having trouble. But here's what it said. I could take a photograph of the letter. So I wrote this. Since the enforcement order for Lot 76 is on tonight's agenda, and I understand that you will ask the commission to vote to issue an enforcement order now, because we had discussed that 3 weeks ago. I'm touching base to report on the ongoing efforts by David Martin, Jen Crawford, and myself regarding the Stroud properties. With reference to Lot 76, which is tonight's matter, we are finalizing a plan to show restoration planting and other improvements in the A and B buffer zones. The plan will provide for the entire Zone A to be restored to a naturally vegetated state and for the permanent protection of a significant portion of Zone B. The plan is to comply with FWR 1018-7D, which is applicable to a resource area buffer zone that has been illegally altered. We would be able to file a notice of intent within 60 days of issuance of the enforcement order. Regarding the work to be done on the adjacent 215 Sippowisset Road property, plans are almost done, and Jen Crawford and David Martin are putting together an NOI. My understanding is that the enforcement order has not actually issued, but we are working to be able to file NOIs for both properties soon so that the outstanding issues will be addressed. The work will involve planting many new trees. It'll be over 50, and that will not happen until next spring. So what we're working on and would like to do on Lot 76, which is a property which the owner has been trying to sell. And the owner went and cut a bunch of trees. It's a flagrant violation, and a team, that's a very good team, I think, put it aside myself, Jen Crawford and David Martin are really doing a lot of effort. And what we there's actually only one tree that's been located over 4 inches in diameter that was in the A zone, but 10 trees in the B zone. The intention was to build a house, intention still is to build a house on this property. So of course there's a serious violation by cutting trees in the B zone without permission, as Betsy has indicated. But to restore that area and then come in with an NOI to remove all of that new vegetation with an entirely intact A zone, where your regulations allow the B zone to be developed, it simply doesn't make sense. And yet, something needs to be done about a violation like this. I understand that. We understand that. And we are going to come forward with something that I think is a pretty good result, and that would be having a significant portion, I'm not sure the exact percentage yet, of the B zone essentially be treated like A zone. We will restore it, we will plant trees, and we will permanently protect it. Now, I'd like to be able to do that without the expense, which is considerable, of a formal conservation restriction, but that's how do we make it permanent, make sure that. And I think that the result is that we would be better protecting the resource area by having essentially an expanded A-type area, A zone, and that in terms of the cumulative detriment of development, we will have a better plan for perpetuity by doing that. And I would also like to point out that with regard to the adjacent property, which has been a problem now for 15 years or more, I think we are going to be doing the right thing. We have a generational problem here. The owner of the property, who has been the owner, trustee, bears the responsibility at various levels for what's been done over the years. We're now dealing with the next generation, and they just want to fix everything, and they've been really receptive to what we've had to say. Jen has been very helpful in our meetings. This is a pretty big project, and I'm proud of the efforts that we're making to solve this owner's, serious violations. And we're almost there. So we would like to submit, we have a restoration plan almost ready to submit for the 215 Sipwissa property, but for the property that's on your agenda tonight, this is lot 76, we would like to submit a notice of intent that is designed to do a lot more than the notice of intent for a new house normally would. We're going to protect as essentially a compromise, as a penalty, whatever. We're going to, I think, have a responsive and practical response to the problem. So we're ready to do that. If an order is issued, I mean, we're doing it anyway. We know we have to do it, and we're pretty much ready to do it. I don't think we'll need 60 days, but Jen Crawford is expecting in the next, I think in about a month, and we could get a little delayed, but we're working to get everything filed before her due date.
Bob?
Yeah.
I would rather see it as a restoration plan and not a notice of intent. So I'm going to issue my recommendation is going to be a restoration plan for both properties.
Well, I suppose we can certainly do the restoration plan because having done all the work we would do.
I only want
It's
to
not a
talk
lot
about the
different.
other properties, and we're going to talk about this property?
Yeah.
It's going to be the board's decision. So, I mean, I have no other choice, and I've told you this, except to recommend a full restoration plan. You can then come in with your restoration plan and your permanently protected
That's what I think we would do.
Which might actually require a CR on the property, and then the board can determine whether or not that's acceptable to them. And that's why I've told Jen to think total restoration, and then come in with what you feel that your client wants, and then the board can decide if that's acceptable to
Well, we're
them.
gonna
I'm
do
not
it-
gonna have them decide that now. Let's see what your plan looks like.
All right, we're going to have the total restoration on the 215 Sequoia
That's, no,
property.
I'm talking about lot 76. 215's a done deal.
And on, well, we haven't received the.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But lot 76 is a separate animal.
I don't think it'd be difficult for us to prepare a restoration plan, given all the, we know what was cut, we know the areas, we can do that. We would also perhaps file a separate NOI at the same time, because it simply doesn't make sense for the commission.
Bob, I do not want to blend these projects. I know what you're trying to do. And we're going to keep it very simple for this board. We're going to issue an enforcement. I want a restoration plan. If you don't want to restore entirely everything your client has done to the site because you feel it's a compromise or the board might be punitive,
No, I shouldn't.
well, those words, you just said those words, I didn't. That, the board can decide at that point whether or not to accept the plan. I think you're just making this a little bit more difficult than it needs to be.
Okay.
Okay, so just bring your plan in, the board can decide whether or not to accept it, and then you can have this conversation with them when they have something to look at.
Right.
So, okay, you see what I'm saying? I think to layer plans and notices on them, I think it's just gonna get too confusing. And I think let's just, you're trying to achieve an endpoint for your client. I'm trying to achieve an endpoint for the resource area in this board.
But
So let's
the
just-
end point, the logical end point, if we actually restored the property, would be restore the property and after a period of time, in accordance with the regulations, remove all the plantings that were installed in the B zone. That's just a bad
Well,
result.
I mean,
Doesn't make
to do
sense.
it also, Bob, we could say that this is an egregious violation, one that your client has basically, has basically thumbed his nose up at the board for the past 15 years, and the board could actually ask for a complete restoration plan and 3 years of monitoring before they allow the property to be,
I
altered.
understand that. I just indicated.
I understand, so what
that.
I'm saying is just let us issue our enforcement order and address it in accordance with how you feel that your client wants, and the board will decide whether to accept it.
So I
I
make that
really
motion.
think you're
Make
making
that
it more
motion.
difficult.
I have no disagreement with what you've just said.
I make that
Okay.
motion.
I
Did you get
second
that?
Second.
Any discussion? Mark?
Nope.
Kristen? Maureen? No. Betsy? Jamie? All right.
And Jen is doing a fabulous job on that, on the other side, on the 215.
Well, it's going to be just as good on this side.
Call for the vote to issue the enforcement order. All those in
Thank
favor say aye.
Thank you, Bob, and I
All
really
those
didn't
opposed
see
say
that,
no.
so.
Unanimous, so moved.
Checked with Gabrielle, I didn't
I
even
think
see
we
her
should
this
go.
afternoon, so, thank you.
Vote order of conditions, 176 Waterside Drive, Killian.
We don't have a quorum for
Yes.
that,
Oh.
so I am going to need Jamie, Mary, and Maury, and Russ is the quorum on that. Russell already is aware, I let him stay home, he doesn't feel well tonight, he didn't need to come in. So, Jamie and Maury, next week sometime, would 4:30 in the 4:15 in the afternoon be really too difficult to come in for like 10 minutes?
It's a pretty easy one.
It is a very
Did they
easy
ever
one,
get
I
the
just don't
10,000
want to
seed Quahog thing?
inconvenience anybody. What was that?
The Quahog seed, remember we were between Quahog seed and plantable? That was the only question. Did you ever get anything from Chuck?
No, but I can follow up with
Because
him and try
that
it.
was the only thing,
Was
that
it?
there'd be a discussion if we had to
Yeah.
discuss.
And the
Okay.
soundings might provide.
So I need a date, so to next week's town meeting, I'm pretty much here all week. What day is better for you guys?
Doesn't matter to me.
Tuesday, we have to do it, because we're gonna have to post it tomorrow I need 48 hours business, so we're not gonna be able to do this until Monday, at least 10 o'clock, so we're not gonna be able to do it until at least Tuesday. Wait a minute, Monday, yeah, Tuesday, so Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, guys, which your pleasure?
I don't have any particular preference on those days.
Maureen, Jamie?
No, any of them are good for me, whatever's
I can do
good for you.
any.
Isn't Tuesday?
You're not on
Don't
the,
you have-
Oh.
I know, but you don't want to have your 3-week, past your 3-week limit.
Well, we're gonna do it this
3 week limit.
Tuesday, right? This Tuesday coming up?
Tuesday would
Oh,
be better.
No,
Okay.
I mean, if we're voting it, we closed it last week,
Oh, you closed it last week?
Yeah.
All right.
So Tuesday
so
after
we do Tuesday.
dark? What's
Tuesday,
good for you?
Tuesday
Anytime.
after dark.
4, whatever.
What's good for you, Jamie?
Anytime after 4.
Okay.
I don't care what time
Wanna say
that's at.
4:30 on Tuesday?
4:30
Is that good for
post-meeting
Russ also?
Tuesday. 4,
He has given his proxy to
Oh,
Jen.
okay.
4:30. He usually leaves around 3:30, 4:15, so.
Well,
But at
I- we can
4:30
make it
works.
4.
I could make it 4, can you?
4?
Or
Four's fine.
4:15? 4? 4
Four's
o'clock.
fine.
4 PM Tuesday, vote OOC for 176 Waterside. Okay, you guys are done.
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 And the only thing
Unanimous, so moved.